This is Jared Goff from Missio Scotland with another We Are Mission podcast, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Bishop George Nkuo. Bishop George, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Bishop, for those who don't know about you, can you tell us a wee bit about your background? What was it like growing up in Cameroon? A wee bit about your family, school, anything you want to talk about?
Oh my God. Yes. Well, I was born in 1953, and I come from a village called Ginicom, and I went to the junior seminary. And my father died when I was still very young. And so I was very lucky to have had some good missionaries who helped and sponsored me through secondary school. And it's very providential because when I finished primary school at the age of 12, and my father had died, I went to work in a plantation. And luckily, a missionary nun who knew my mother and my father very well called me back home and took me to look for a sponsor for me. They sponsored me through secondary school, and I became a priest. What is interesting about that is that when I became a priest, that my benefactor, that reverend sister who helped me, never gave me the contact of the nun of the family that took care of me. So when I was appointed bishop in 2006, somehow I found my way to Rome and to the north of Italy, and I wanted to discover the people who gave me life. Mm-hmm. And you won't believe it, I went to that family up in the north of Italy in the Tyrol, and I saw the lady who really actually sponsored me. She had a difficult delivery, and she promised God if everything went well, she would do something for the child in Africa. So she did that for me, and I went there. 40 years after I met her in her family, it was a wonderful experience to see somebody who had really given me a future in my life. And that touched me so very much. That's really how my vocation came about, because if that woman never came into my life, there was no way I could ever have become a priest, and more still a bishop. Yeah, that was it.
That's fascinating. Just in terms of, if we go back a wee bit, did you come from quite a big family? Did the faith play an important part in family life? Was becoming a priest something that you always wanted to do, or did you harbour ambitions to do something else?
I must say, I came from a very Christian family. My parents were very, very Catholic, and in fact, my senior sister, Sister Fatima, is a nun. She was a nun, and she's still a nun now. And we were I grew up a very, very Catholic protected family. So the idea of becoming a priest would not have been new, because growing up and being mass servants and wanting to become a priest and seeing a great example of priest, I was attracted to the priesthood from my very early years. It's just that, well, my father died in the meantime, and I said that idea was gone. But somehow God intervened and made it possible for me to become a priest. So I came from a very Christian, very Catholic family, very, very Catholic, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did your father passing away? How did that impact you? How did it impact the rest of your family?
Well, when my father died, we have what you call a matrilineal system in our tribe, which means that you cannot inherit from your father. So when my father died, what happened was that my father's family actually drove us out of the compound where we grew up, where we were born and we grew up. And so I lived with my grandmother and my mother. We went back to my grandmother's parents, and that is where we grew up. And that's where we went to school, and that's how my life began. So that was a difficult time, and it took me time to be able to say I've forgiven the people who drove me out of that compound. You see, that was a very difficult moment in my youth, but I eventually got over that, and we are very happy because God really blessed us, and we grew up with our mother, and our mother took very good care of our faith, and she's very hardworking, and taught us to work hard and to live with very little. And that's how we have been. Yes.
So you had a very good example from your mother as well.
From my mother, I am also very attached to my mother, because she's really a woman of faith and very hardworking and lived very little. Yes.
Fantastic. Just in terms of your vocation, when you decided to take up a vocation, was there anything that was quite surprising to you about it?
Well, well, I won't say quite surprising. Somehow, I think God. If there was a big surprise, was that I had the privilege to have a good education. None of my family members had. Neither my brothers. I have two brothers and two sisters. None of them had the kind of education I had. So I was privileged. I was really privileged. And I think from there, I thought God really had a plan for me, because I was the only one from nowhere that non picked me up and got a benefactor for me and sent me to a good secondary school, a seminary, and I couldn't have asked for more. It was really, really something which was extraordinary, and I can say God's hand was at work in it, definitely.
And in terms of the actual word vocation, what does that mean to you? What does the term vocation mean to you?
Well, vocation for me, I think I see it as being called to the service of God, to be able to touch people's lives, to be able to give people hope, to be able to give some meaning to people's lives, and to preach the gospel in such a way that it is something real, it's something relevant, it's something that transforms life. And I have found that in my many years of the priest. I'm a priest now for 43 years, and I could never thank God enough that through my ministry as a priest, I have been able to give so many people, especially now. I'm living in a war-torn zone where practically people are suffering greatly. I think God must have prepared me for this. And because of my personal life experience, I'm able to identify, to live in a situation where you can be a source of inspiration, of joy, and of hope to the people. That for me is what makes me to have a vocation. Yeah.
And you touched on it there. It's very, very difficult times in Cameroon, to say the least, to put it mildly. Just when you're going through these times, where do you draw strength from?
Oh, yes. I think I've been very... Yes. And if I tell you where I've got my strength, I've gotten my strength, especially in my celebration, in my participation in the Eucharist. I am a great... I can give the testimony that because of my Eucharistic life, I have had the graces, the energy, the resources to be able to live out my vocation. And there's no way. And so for me, the peak, the summit of my life, every morning is that I have a chance to celebrate the Eucharist, to break the word of God, and to participate in the Eucharist in such a way that it has meaning, it nurtures me, it empowers me, it strengthens me, it makes it possible for me to live through some really, really very difficult situations. I think that's my source of power and energy. Definitely, my prayer life has been. And also, of course, you do get inspiration. When you live with people and you work with them, the appreciation, the people find that yes, you have something to offer to them which they appreciate. I get so much feedback from the people that I work with, from the people that I serve, that you feel that you have a real mission to transform people's lives. People show great appreciation and acknowledgement of the work that I do with them here in Kumbo, where I am. Definitely, I find that. First, my prayer life, and then, the positive response that you receive from the people that you serve.
In terms of yourself, is there a particular saint or a scripture passage that you always come back to in your vocation?
Yes. When I became a priest, I had for my motto, be holy in all that you do. But then when I was 25 years a priest, I thought, no, it's not enough not to be holy. I just said, what I have, the scriptural text from St. John's Gospel and St. John's letter to St. John's second letter is that God is love. That's my Episcopal motto, that God is love. I've experienced God's love in my life, and it's because I've experienced God's love in my life that I can be able to reach out to people to show that God loves them as well in an infinite way. That's, for me, I live because I know God is love. That's my motto. That's my scriptural text.
and in terms of your vocation itself, tell us a wee bit about your journey. Tell us about some of the roles that you've held before you became Bishop George.
Well, thank you very much. When as a young priest, I was very involved with the youth. I worked a lot with the young people. I was very involved in schoolwork. I did a lot with teachers and to help them to run Catholic schools and to be an inspiration to them and to motivate them. So I worked a lot with the schools, and then I was a principal of the college. That means I had a college with about 500 boys and girls where I worked with them, and I taught and I administered. Then, of course, in the last 12 years before I became a priest, I was what you call an education secretary. I was in charge of education in my whole diocese. So I'm passionately in love with Catholic education. That's been my real, area of interest. And even in the Bishops' Conference, I have worked a lot in trying to promote education in the church in Cameroon. That's been one of my and of course, well, it's because part of the thing I studied in Ireland, and I did education, and my educational background and all that helped me. I'm a teacher by I call it by vocation. Because I'm a priest, I was a priest, but really I was a teacher. And I passionately loved teaching, and as a Catholic teacher, of course, and a Catholic principal and a Catholic education secretary, I did a lot of work there. Yeah. So my area has been really pastoral, but mainly teaching. It's now that I still go get involved with young people, but now being a bishop, it's a bit more challenging that I have other things to do. Yeah. But teaching is been my passion.
Fantastic. To take you back to the very beginning, your early days of being a parish priest. Being a priest in somewhere like Cameroon is obviously very, very different to being a priest in Scotland. So tell us a wee bit about kind of how you were received in the different parishes that you served, and what was your overall kind of first impressions of life as a parish priest?
Well, to be honest with you, Jared, I have never been a parish priest. I've been a priest in the parish, but I've never been in charge of parish. My whole life has been in the world of young people and schools.
Wow.
I've been, but at least I would have lived in a parish. I was very involved in parish work, but I've never been in charge. I've never been a pastor or a parish priest at any stage in my life. But wherever I have worked, working with children, and the beauty of being a teacher is that you form children, and later on you don't even know where they are, and you bump into them, and the impact you make on them is unimaginable. So my experience has been right from the elementary school, children I have met and taught, and they have grown, they have matured, they have become responsible, and they can make, this is what you taught us. You taught us this, you taught us that. It's amazing to see the impact you can have on children, especially if you're a good teacher, if you're a Catholic teacher, if you want to pass on not only just teaching physics and chemistry and mathematics, but also teaching people for life, giving them a future, giving them something to hold on to. It's been, I would say that, yes, as a priest in parish, and also, of course, outside school, it's wonderful to be with the people, especially in Cameroon. I have had great opportunities where you go out, you celebrate with the people, you listen to them, you teach them doctrine, you hear the confessions, you visit the sick, you anoint them, you bury the dead, you participate at funerals and weddings. All that in a way that touches people's life. Presence, a godly presence, being present with the power of Christ in difficult moments, in trying moments, in sad moments, but also in wonderful, joyful, peaceful, great moments in the life. That, for me, has been my priestly ministry.
Excellent. In terms of being a teacher and things like that, your fellow members of the hierarchy must have seen qualities in you that you were displaying while a teacher that led them to think that this guy one day could be a very good bishop. Now, when you were starting off in your vocational journey, did you ever envisage potentially becoming a bishop? Was that something that was in your thoughts or not?
Far from it. Actually, what happened was that my greatest dream, you see, I've been so long in education, and after my 25 years as a priest, I was hoping and praying to my bishop that you'll give me a chance to be a parish priest, to taste what it means to be a parish priest. And you wouldn't believe it that my bishop said, okay, well, you have worked for so many years, after 25 years in school, take a holiday. And I took a holiday. Where did I go to? I went over to the United States. And I was going to take a holiday for 3 months. And you won't believe it, within the month that I was out in the United States, my bishop was calling me back. I said, but you gave me 3 months. I said, no, come back, because there's something urgent that awaits you here. And you will finish the rest of your holidays after that. So I came back home, and my bishop was being a very shrewd man. So he told me, well, you have come back, go up to the nunciature and meet the nuncio, and whatever he asks you, answer in faith. That's what he told me. Answer in faith. Just imagine coming back from the United States, having jet lag, driving to where the nuncio was, and I go and meet the nuncio. The nuncio, without any preambles, the nuncio never even prepared me to take it. Say, well, come in. The bishop has made you. The Holy Father has appointed you Bishop of Kumbo. Go into the chapel there, pray for 10 minutes, go upstairs and write to the Holy Father and tell him yes. You cannot. Of course, you cannot say no to the Holy Father. So just do that. I went to the chapel. All I did, I was cried and cried. I said, this is not possible. I don't know what I wrote to the Holy Father, but I must have written something. But you can imagine that from nowhere, least imagined, least expected, this happens. So you can say, there was no preparation for this at all. And in my wildest imagination, I could never figure that type of thing out. So I was taken completely by surprise. But I think God's grace works in wonderful ways. I find myself, and I think somehow you get prepared for this. God prepared me for it, because I worked very closely with my former bishop, and I learned a lot from him, because I was one of his close collaborators. I was in his college of consultants. I was an education secretary there. I worked closely with him, and I learned a lot from him. Maybe that was remote preparation for where I am today. But I could not, in my wildest imagination, think that this would be possible for me. Never. In fact, let me tell you just one more thing. I remember I went to Rome. I went to Rome with one of my priests who knew Rome. I had never been to Rome, and we had to go into to take some photos, dress up like a bishop, and take a photo. I was frightened like anything to dress up like a bishop. And the priest with whom I went, he was used to Rome. He knew Rome very well. So you're dressing up. Say, George, calm down. So you are the bishop. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. So it was unimaginable. That was the thing that you could least have thought of that would happen to you. But the fright is over, and I'm very comfortable now. I've done a great job here thinking with the people of God in Kumbo. It's wonderful to be there to serve them and to do it joyfully. Yeah.
And just if you look at your time as a bishop, do you have any kind of standout stories or memories that you could share with us?
Well, the memories I would have, let me share with you what it means for me, what it means to be a bishop. I think one of the great things that a bishop should do is to work very closely with your priests. And you have many priests. I have over 160 priests in the diocese. And to be able, in such a way that if you work well with them and empower them and encourage, your priests can do so much more. So once you have a good working relationship with your priest, I think a great Lord, then you can count that the priest has been taking good care of the people of God. So my one take on being a priest of the bishop is that to work well with the priest, and also to give my priests very good solid formation. I believe in forming the priests in such a way that they are able to take care of the laity. A church that is a people's church, but they have a good leadership, people who care for their people, that takes care of the laity, is present with the people and takes good care of them. That has been my mission as a bishop. Working very closely with the priests, forming them, and making sure that they take very good care of the pastoral needs of the people. Mm-hmm. These are my memories. These are the things I stand for.
And just in terms of, there's obviously many positives about being a bishop, and there's probably some negatives as well. Can you share with us some of the positive aspects of being a bishop, and maybe if there are any, some of the negative aspects?
First thing, it's not easy to be a bishop, to be honest with you. But one of the things that that has it can make it easy for you is take off your mitre and be down to earth. And it's wonderful if the reception you get from the people, in a humble reception that you get from the people is amazing. My greatest joy being a bishop is going around the parishes, meeting the people, listening to them, attending to them, taking care of them as much as I can, and it's wonderful. And when you do that, the response is fantastic. I can. That's my experience. That just going, being able to go, and especially going to places and to people where they least expect that you would come, and being able to be there with them when they say, "No, oh, how can you?" Like, I'm in a war situation. Many times I've had to go on a bike. Many times I've had to trek. Many times I've had to rough the roads, and it's amazing. It's so edifying. It's uplifting to see the response. That gives you a reason to say, wow, it's worth it. It's wonderful to be there. Definitely. That's it. Even on the negative side, well, when you're a bishop, it can be quite lonely. It can be quite difficult. It's not an easy job. The demands are heavy. And working, especially here, when you see the enormous needs of my people. The people where I am is a very rural diocese, and the people they look up to you to provide basically all their medical needs, their health needs, their all educational needs, their social needs. It's overwhelming, and that's where it's very painful. See, I cannot take care of all that. It's very difficult, very difficult. But no, but my connections and my contacts with people out there is to be able to, how can I bring relief to these people? That's for me. It's a special concern that we say, you're a bishop, but the needs can be so overwhelming that you're helpless to be able to reach out and sufficiently take care of you see somebody who is desperately sick, somebody in a difficult situation, and well, you just can't we try to give people just basic water, basic needs, like be able to provide water to a village, or health facilities to a village, or to give education to some children who would not go to school if nobody came into their lives, that kind of thing. That's where I find, it's challenging, it can be very difficult, but God takes care of that. That's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm. Bishop George, try and give us a wee bit of an insight into how the current conflict has affected the lives of everyday people, and how it's maybe affected the life of the church as well.
Well, actually, we're living in a very difficult this conflict that we're living in has gone on. We thought there was something that will be over in 1 or 2 years, but this is the 8th, 9th year that it's going on. And what has happened is that the war has come in, and a lot of our people have relocated because they cannot live in a very hostile environment where we are. A lot of our people have left because one of the huge effects of this war was that they closed down schools. They wouldn't allow children to go to school. So many of the children had left and gone off to look for school somewhere else. And it's a terrible impact on the life of the people. And also to see what I call it, the brutality. I mean, you see people killed, innocent people killed by stray bullets. It's a painful sight to see what our people have suffered. And the only thing I can say is that only the church where I am has been able to stand by and close to the people, to be there with them, and not even be able to give anything, but that the people see that, well, people who could have helped them have run away. But the church, all my parishes, the priests are still there. Coping with it. The other day, for example, I talked to one of my parish priests. He called me, said, "Bishop, somebody has been killed here. It was gunshot, and nobody's there to bury him. Can you come? Can I go and take that person and go and bury him?" Say, "Father, be careful. Be careful. First of all, guard your safety. And if you are going to go, make sure that you are safe, and find out if the military will not attack you or the rebels will not attack you before you can take the body to go and bury." And that will bury the dead. We're there for them. And that is the role that the church continues to play, being present with our people, assuring them that there is hope. I can say that the war has been a very difficult time, but the presence of the church has been a clear testimony of the power of God's presence in this church that we belong, to which we belong.
That's really powerful. It kind of shows you just how important that the priestly vocation is in Cameroon, and how the priests see their mission to the people as well. the term mission itself, what does the term mission mean to you?
Well, the term mission for me, in the past was something foreign because we saw missionaries coming. But for me, the term mission means that we are sent out to bring the good news. We are here to proclaim the Jesus who suffered and died and rose from the dead and gives us the courage, gives us the sense of meaning and direction in life. The mission means that good news, the power of God, being able to overcome all the trials and difficult moments that we go face through, and that it is possible. That is what it means for me. Good news, proclaiming, and messengers of the good news, proclaiming it by our lives, living it, sharing it, being present there with the people, and reassuring them that there is hope in the midst of the terrible darkness that we are facing at the moment. The violence, what we have experienced is a violence, cruel violence, and that even then we can still look to the cross of Christ and say, yes, Christ was violently treated, but he suffered, he died, and he rose from the dead. And that is the person we are following. That is it. Violence, horrible violence. People shattered and killed by hatred. That's what we've lived through, and we are there to give the people hope. That's our mission.
In terms of the diocese itself, Diocese of Kumbo, tell us a wee bit about what it's like. Is it quite a big diocese? Is it rural and things like that? Give us a wee insight into the Diocese of Kumbo.
The Diocese of Kumbo, we have an area of 8,000 square kilometers. That's about the length of the diocese. It's not a very big diocese, and we have about 1.2 million people, and the Catholic population would be about 350,000 Catholics, and it's a rural diocese, and we have about 46 parishes. And then we do have lots of schools, of course, which are, some of them are running and some are not because of the war. And one of the beautiful things about this diocese is that it has produced lots of vocations, many priests, many religions. In fact, the only cardinal that has ever come out from Cameroon was a cardinal from Kumbo, from this diocese. He's born and bred in this diocese, but he was a cardinal in our cardinal capital of Douala. And it has produced bishops as well. I don't come from this diocese myself. I don't come from here. I come from another diocese, but I'm Bishop of Kumbo. But I'm very proud that I've had a cardinal and two bishops, you say, who are sons and daughters, sons of this diocese, that they gladly blessed with many vocations, and there's a vibrant faith, a living community, wonderful people. Yes, definitely it is. But what is striking is that there are people who do not have, but you see joy and a certain serenity, a certain extraordinary peace in them, even though they live with very little. I can say it even for my priest. The diocese where I was, I keep telling people that, I live better off as a priest where I was than as a bishop where I am now. The priests where I am now are able to live with very little. Amazing. But they can live with very little, and they're there with the people. That's extraordinary. I find that, a blessing. For this diocese, it's a beautiful place to be in. Absolutely, I can tell you.
And just in terms of your own hopes for the future of the diocese, what would they be?
Well, I can tell you that in the next few years, I should be retiring in the next 2-3 years because I'm getting 72 very soon. And my dream would be that first of all, that the war should get over. And many of our people who have relocated, who are called internally displaced or refugees, that they can come back and life can come back to this diocese and that we have peace. Because at the moment we are living through a very difficult time. My dream, my hope, my prayer is that in the next few years, let peace come back. And until we have true and genuine peace back in our region, it'll be difficult for us to grow as a church and to do the things that we normally are good at doing. So my first preoccupation is the end of violence and the return of peace. That will be it.
Just in terms of Kumbo Diocese itself, how do you and the people of the Diocese of Kumbo live out your connection with the Universal Church?
Well, this diocese, one big connection with the Universal Church that I have, I mentioned to you that we have been blessed with many vocations. And one of the things that I have done in the last couple of years is that I can send out priests on mission, fidel donor priests who can serve in other churches, who are doing a great job. I mean, I say I have over 50 priests of my diocese who are on mission in other parts of Africa, in the United States, in Europe even. They are out there serving and doing a great job. And to give them that dimension that the church is not limited to Kumbo. A broader outlook, let them see the church in all this diversity. And at the same time, what I try to tell them, to let them to know, is that the church of Kumbo must also be a welcoming church. That means it should be open to welcome non-indigens who can come in and serve. So I have many religious institutes with religious who are not from here, who are coming in also to serve in this church. That gives it a universal dimension, of course. So I have fidel priests, and I'm in partnership with dioceses out in the United States, Germany, and in Spain, of course, as well, where priests are there, but we also
Okay. In terms of the Pontifical Mission Societies, what role do you see the Pontifical Mission Societies having in the life of the church, both in Kumbo and in Scotland?
Well, I mean, what I know is that the church, the church, the Pontifical Society are supposed to help to facilitate the spread of the gospel, and to teach us, and to help us, and to support us in our mission in various ways, so that we can be more available, that we should make more facilities available for the spread of the gospel here. And I know that the Pontifical Mission Society does that a great deal in helping us to maybe to build churches, schools, and be able, even with the livelihood of the priest. I told you how the priests in my diocese live with little. Sometimes we get mass offerings, intentions, to be able to help the priests, because they live in some really substandard, I'll call it substandard conditions. And if I'm grateful to God, because now and again we can get mass intentions for the upkeep of the priest, we get facilities to be able to support the people who work very hard. Like, it's gonna work very hard to help us to build. Now I hear that in Europe and America, people are closing down churches and selling off churches. Here we are building churches because our people, it's a primary church of evangelization. Our people want to build a house of God where they can come in and worship. And they do a lot for themselves. And they do need that kind of support from the Pontifical Mission Society. Is really a great source of encouragement and support for us to be able to build up a solid, vibrant church in our communities here.
And that leads us on nicely, Bishop George, to the project this year that Missio Scotland is supporting. Can you tell us a wee bit about that?
No, that one is a very particular case where I have seen the great endeavor of the people of Giptan, where they are enthusiastically, and I think over-ambitious. They were really over-ambitious because they built a church that they cannot finish. They started working in the church and they're not able to finish it themselves. So I needed to reach out somewhere to ask for help. Could you help them to finish the floor, to do the same? Let it be something that they can use, a decent place of worship for God. And I said, well, they have done their best, but I think they have outstretched their resources, and this was a wonderful opportunity that I had. I'm still waiting for the fallout, but it's a great help that I know that Father Vincent Lockhart and yourself are working very hard to make it happen. But the church in Giptan, I just said they were ambitious. They did a very good job, but their resources were very limited, and they're waiting for you to come in and support them.
And just on that topic as well, why do you think it's important for people to continue support the work of the likes of Missio Scotland and the Pontifical Mission Societies all over the world?
Well, I think one of the things that I can remember is the whole of the political was to realize that the church is universal, and to realize that the church is on mission, and to realize that being on mission, we support one another. And at the moment, and I give a concrete example, what is happening is that the Church of Kumbo is supporting the churches out around the world with the priests that they have. But it's a poor church. We do not have. And they cannot build a church. But we can give you a priest. And if you can help us to build a church, it's reciprocal. That we're generous in our reaching out with the human resources that we have. And we do need some call it financial resources to be able to sustain, even for the formation of our priests. I have 160 seminarians, for example. I cannot pay for that. I cannot pay for all those ones. But I need help to be able to train them, and they're good quality material for the priesthood. They will not only serve here. I will send them, they will reach out, just as the church that is out there in Scotland reaches out to us to support us from their own resources. We reach out with what we have to make the church one, a universal church, a beautiful church. That's where I see it. Thank you.
And Bishop George, just to kind of finish up, can you tell us a wee bit about your kind of pre-existing relationship with our National Director, Father Vincent Lockhart?
Well, interesting enough, Father Vincent Lockhart and myself, we worked in the same diocese. He came out working with a Focolari in a place called Fontaine. And we met many times, especially when we had school meetings, because he was the manager of schools, and we met many times during our school meetings. And of course, I visited Fontaine many times because I was in charge of schools. I visited the college where it was in Fontaine and the primary schools there, and he was really a great supporter, and he did it very well. So I was surprised to see that he's back in Scotland, and I remember very well. When I was a student in Ireland, I visited Scotland. I think I was in Edinburgh. I don't know where you are, but I served in the parish somewhere in Edinburgh for about a month. So when I met him, it was like, oh, this is somebody, I have been to his own place. So we are great friends indeed, yes. But I've been to Lockhart. Do greet him for me. It was wonderful, yes.
Well, Your Lordship, thank you very much for giving us the time to speak to you about the Diocese of Kumbo, the mission, and lots of other things, the project, and hopefully we'll get that sorted soon. So thank you very much once again.
You're very welcome, Gerard. And anytime you want me to talk, I'm ready to share the life of the Diocese of Kumbo with you. And God bless you. And greetings to you for that Vincent Lockhart for me. Bye, God bless.
Thank you.
Missio Scotland is the Scottish branch of the Pontifical Mission Societies, the Pope's official charity for overseas mission. To learn more about the work of Missio Scotland, you can visit our website www.missioscotland.com. You can like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Missio Scotland. You can also follow us on Twitter, Missio_Scotland, and on Instagram, Missio Scotland. If you would like to donate to Missio Scotland, visit www.missioscotland.com/donate. You can also call us on 01236 449 774 or send donations to Missio Scotland, 4 Laird Street, Coatbridge, ML5 3LJ. Please keep us in your prayers. Thank you and God bless.